So let's go into how we transition from these steps. And here's the 7 steps of sales. This is, again, like we said, it's a process. Jeffrey Gitomer, I bet you John recognizes that name. He's maybe one of the biggest sales guru on the planet, Sales Bible, the little red book of selling. But he says, look, sales is a process. It's a completely predictable process. If we follow the steps, we'll close deals. You skip the steps and you lose. It's just that simple. And I believe, that's why we're here. I believe that all of us can improve on sales. If you're closing 10 deals a month, we could be closing 15. If we're closing 5 and our goal, we could be closing 10. There's always room for improvement, even at the highest levels, right? There's always ways that we can do better. And that's towards sales mastery, right? We want to do better. We don't want to think we're at the mountaintop yet. So I'll just go through these quickly, then we'll kind of go a little bit, zoom in a bit, but we'll just fly by this, bird's eye view. The prospecting part is, where John and Estella really, excel. This is the top of the sales funnel. We want to get the people that are, the most qualified and they're in the buying window, right? So we're lucky that John has created this beautiful giving model and Estella is supporting him with the systems, and that we have this excellent funnel where we're talking to really warm leads. I don't know if anyone's ever done sales where they're not warm, but it's a totally different game. We are talking to highly qualified people. They emotionally are in a buying window, and we get to talk to these people. It's, I wanted to put that in there so the sales and the marketing can kind of see how they play off into each other and just see how it all relates, but the fact that we're getting these warm leads on these conversations is really, testament to this giving model, in a sense that it's taking them through a sales journey. And then when they're ready to get into that window where they want to take action, we get to talk with them. So, and then that's where we come in. The sales team comes in for the connection, right? And this is, the classic building rapport stage. And these are easy questions. Oh, where are you from? Where are you staying? Let's get this conversation. Oh, how long have you been in Bali? Oh, great. How long have you lived in Australia? Cool. What are you passionate about life? What are you pursuing? Just like these things that are, we're getting to know each other, right? We're building some connections. And then the discover stage, I would say, is the most important stage of the whole conversation. So we've connected you don't want to stay in get to know each other cappuccino conversation for too long. Like Carolina said, 30 minutes, I'm still in the connect part. We need to be moving into the discovery part, which is asking questions. Okay, I see on your application here, you've shared you have some, issues with low energy and low drive and this and that. Tell me more about that. Well, how long has that been going on? So we're discovering, the fears, the wants, the needs of these people, the pain points, the motivations. This discovery, I would say, is 80% of the call. It should be that. And it should be mostly them talking. You ask a great question. They share some information. In that discovery, as I've shared in the past, I am taking notes about their language, right? So important is, like we said, people buy for their reasons, not yours. So in order for me to bridge my solution to their situation, I have to use their language. So if someone says something and it really gets a hit, I just have no support from my family. On my piece of paper, I'm no support, right? From the people around them. Okay, so, and now I'm bridging back. Okay, so if you were to attend a retreat or a festival where you felt totally supported, where you felt like you actually had help from people that really cared about you, do you see value in that? Right, is that something that you would, be pursuing? Or look, we're looking to, you can't, influence the decision unless they clearly see the bridge. And the entire sales conversation is building your case for your solution. you can't build a case unless there's a beautiful bridge that they can clearly see, right? It's like, this is a really serious pain point. I want to know, you acknowledge them. Thank you for sharing some of these pain points, because this is not easy to talk about, but you can't really heal what you don't acknowledge. So I just, first of all, I want to say thank you for acknowledging that. Thank you for, being willing to share that. And if we were able to create a package for you that helped you get healing for that pain, that, put you on the right path for lifestyle choices and actually held you accountable and gave you support, do you see yourself doing that? Can you imagine yourself in a situation like that? Can you imagine being at a retreat in Bali or being at a festival in Spain doing these things? Yes. And you're building the bridge. And we'll go deeper into the languaging around that. I just want to give us, again, we got 60 to 90 minutes here. We want to start building the foundations of what the sales steps are. We're not going to be able to go in like full depth onto each of these, but we will. This will be something that we will in future trainings go full depth on. But the idea is we're moving from discover with these powerful questions. We understand them. They feel like we care about them through these questions. We know our program so well. We know everything that we're selling so well that we can clearly bridge those back in their language. And this is the big one. This is the asking for the next step, or people would call that closing. That might be, oh, you got to go for the close. Ultimately, we are asking for the next step. And there's a lot of emotions that come up with that in regards to confidence, in regards to your voice, and, whether your voice goes high or whether if you're on a video call, whether you seem confident. There's so much involved in asking. But ultimately, in the simplest form, because in the pre-call, you know what your objective is, you know what you want to ask for. You say, look, okay, after you've built the bridge, you say, look, the next step, if you want to join, is we get a deposit, and then you have reserved your scholarship, or you've reserved your spot. Or, look, my role is to support you to take the next step. All I need from you now is a deposit. Would you like to pay Visa or MasterCard? It's something you because you've done the pre-planning, you know what your objective is. You come to this call, and once you have the emotional intelligence to know I've built the trust. I know I can now ask for what I want. People that don't have good situational awareness will ask too early, right? The idea is they like you. They feel like you've been listening to them. They feel like you understand their problems. You feel like you've actually created a bridge to help them solve their problems, and they actually want to do business with you. Now you know that it's the time. I'm seeing some things in the chat. I'm probably just missing all this goodness. But on a big screen, I can't see it. Carolina, am I missing anything in the chat here that I should be aware of?
Just compliments. And Jen asked, so are you using positive embedded language?
Yes. So Jen, maybe for us that don't have that framework of positive embedded language, I would love for you just to go a little bit, describe what that is, just so we can get a kind of hook onto the language you're using there.
Basically, when you're trying to get somebody to commit, so I would use. So when would be a good time for you to make a commitment? Okay. So, or the other one is you could use language like you used it just a minute ago when you said now. That word now, like make a commitment now. That sort of language is what I'm talking about.
Yes.
So you try and frame something to get them to make a decision now.
Yes,
So-
perfect.
so that's what I mean by positive embedded language. It's a bit NLP-ish.
Yeah, and absolutely. I guess, and thank you for sharing that, Jen. I totally agree. And we'll look at some of the more specific languaging there in future ones, because it's really important. But it's the difference between, like, I would say, passive communication, you know, unconfident passive. So like, so what do you think? Like, are we going to go ahead with this? And it's like, what the hell was that? Like that's not how you ask for what you want, right? It's that, and that's so much part of this confident. And sometimes I, you know, right when I know I'm situationally, I know it's appropriate for me to ask for what I want, I'll take a deep breath and I'll make sure I'm not, you know, too frantic or anything. I'm confident. I feel myself. I'm smiling. I'm keeping a consistent tone. I'm not rushing through the close. I'm asking for what I want with, you know, positive, assertive language that's not aggressive, but I'm not afraid to ask what you want, right? So for example, if I want the person to make a deposit or to make a full payment, I'm not going to beat around the bush. When you start dancing, it shows that you're uncertain of the quality of your service or product, right? So if I'm saying, look, after everything you've shared, I really feel like this is going to have a massive impact. And what my role is to support you in taking the next step. What we do now is we collect a deposit, or, you know, after everything you've shared, you know, in our contacts, we say, I feel really confident about extending the scholarship to you. Now, what that means is we grab a deposit that reserves your spot, and then you're coming to our event. Sound good? Right? So you're asking, you're not saying, so, you know, maybe now, like, we'll just get you into our system. You're like, oh man, like, I don't want to do business with a person like that. There's like, this passive is like, how does that sound to you? Like, how does that sound? Like, what does that mean? Like, you know, there's all sorts of examples of, like, okay, and this is a practical thing. For the rest of your lives, never just say, I'm just checking in. Don't say that anymore. Because people don't, and Pat used to say this, people don't want boring from Boringsville, right? They don't want the same sales pitch the same way. Hey, I'm just checking in, because then you activate the default sales script. Yeah, now I haven't had any time to check in on that. Or no, I haven't, you know, maybe get back to me in a few weeks. Oh yeah, okay, cool. You've left with no next step. They're not looking at anything that you're sending them. So just forget I'm checking in, you know, just say, hey, this is me following up. I'd like to continue our conversation. And you can say, have we decided on the next steps? Or you can even say, like, you know, what's the typical buying process for you? Do you talk about this with your wife before you buy, or do you just make the buying decisions here, right? Like, you don't want to activate their defense. You say, like, are you the decision maker? That's too hard, right? You can ask them, like, about their buying process. So, like, usually in big things like this, you know, is this something that you and your wife discuss together? Yes. Okay, great. So let's have our next conversation together with both of you. And then I can answer any of her questions or answer any of his questions. And then we can take the next step together. Sound good? Great. Right? Because sometimes, and maybe, I know I've had this, but maybe Sarah's had this. Have you ever spent a lot of time with a lead? It's a beautiful conversation. You're like, oh, this is a deal. And then you ask for what you want. You ask for the next step, and like, oh, I have to talk with my husband. He's the actual one that makes all the decisions, or the buying decisions. You're like, oh, why didn't I ask that earlier? You know, that's the classic, you know, partner objection. But can anyone relate to that? Sarah, have you ever had that where you spent time and energy with only to find out that she actually has no buying power?
Yeah, I've had it with a guy that I'm actually still talking with.
Okay.
And he he's bought it, so he was quite happy to go ahead with the training. He's booked for academy, but trying to pin him down to get a date for which academy he's coming to is really hard because it's all dependent on his wife's annual leave, so that they can, so that she can look after the house or the kid or something.
Right.
But yeah, so he didn't really need to talk to her about the actual sale.
Right.
But now trying to get hold of him. So he's paid everything, and I'm just waiting for him to, like, every time I go back in, I'm like, hey, can I get you booked in on a training?
Right.
Like, you've paid all the money. And he's like, oh,
Right.
yeah, I'm still waiting to hear from my wife about what her holiday is. I'm like, oh, okay. So,
Right.
yeah, kind of
And I
not
guess-
really. Yeah, go on.
And I guess in that situation, you could be, you know, checking in for a long time, you know, without him getting any answers from his wife. And I wonder if it would be beneficial to like book a call with both of them together, because it may be that she's like, for some reason, hesitant or resistant, or, you know, best case scenario, it's just she's literally waiting for work to release those dates, which is great. Or worst case scenario, she's one of the stakeholders, one of the important people in the decision factors that is potentially going to sink the deal, right? So I wonder if it's, even though he's paid, it could be like he doesn't commit to a date for the next 5 years or something like that. So I wonder if it would have any value to, you know, connect with both of them on a video call so they could see your shiny, happy face in Cambodia and build the trust with her. Because you've already built the trust with him, right?
Yeah.
You've answered all the questions. Do I like you? Do I trust you? Do you care about me? But you haven't answered that for his wife yet. So I have to get her on board with that.
Okay.
But just
I'll try
a
that.
mini thought. But it's a good example you just gave us of, you know, you get to the end, you're like, I'm so excited. This is gonna be so great. It's like, I just had to talk with my wife. You're like, oh.
I had a
And
few
then-
on the last sales campaign that they were applying on behalf of other people.
Okay, weird. Okay.
Yeah. And when I booked a call with them, I was like, do you both want to be there? And they were like,
Yeah.
no, I'll talk to you. And then so you kind of go into the call knowing that no decision is going to be made because it's not them making the decision. So
Yeah.
I did the whole, like, you have half an hour, let's get this done. And then by the end of it, it was like, okay, well, if you can just email all that over and I'll send it over to my sister. I'm like, okay,
So
thanks.
yeah, exactly. And I've had tons of deals like that. And I think that's kind of why we're having these conversations right now, is to say, okay, we've all experienced that enough times where we need to get the right language around how to frame them. It's like micro commitments, right? Yep, I'm absolutely happy to send that to you. But before we do that, let's discuss the date and time of our next meeting. And I actually would like to invite the person who's actually going to be deciding, you know, who's coming into that call as well. So let's find a date that works. Do you know when she has days off? And then book around the actual person that's most important in the decision process, and saying, like, you know, like, that's like the classic, you know, brush off, right? Like, just send me some stuff and I'll look at it. No, you won't. Right. And, you know, we do want to see an email with all the details and all the benefits and all that stuff, but not unless you have a micro commitment for time, energy, and attention. It's already set. I'm happy to send that to you, and I'll happy to discuss it further with you on our next call, which is 2 days from now. How does 9 o'clock work? Right. So it's like, and that's part of having in the pre-call planning our targeted next step. If they don't buy on that call, the next targeted step is to have a micro commitment so that we can move the deal forward. Because so many of us, and myself included, had these stalled deals, right? Because you send them something, you say you're going to call back, but you don't have a confirmed time, and then you spend the chasing game, right? Hey, this is Brandon calling from Tyler's team again. You know, I've left a few messages now, still haven't heard from you. I've sent some emails as well. Just, you know, just checking in. wondering what's going on, you know, you're never going to hear back from those people because they're, you know, they're scared of change, right? They've brushed you off, and now that you're off the phone with them, they can run it, they can hide for as long as they, you know, as long as they want. So I guess the idea is, okay, we don't want that. We don't want people hiding from decisions, right? We want to influence decisions by little micro commitments, right? Like little foot in the door moments, right? Like, you know, I used to do door-to-door sales, and it's a real thing. Like the language we use, like you gotta get your foot in the door. It's true. Sometimes I would knock on the door and not even start selling. I just say, "Oh, I'm so hot. Is it? I'm not even gonna sell anything. Don't worry. Can I just get a glass of water?" Oh, of course you can get you a glass of water. Give me a glass of water. Your foot's in the door. You're drinking water. Like, I really appreciate that. It's been a tough day, but we're getting a lot of sales actually. A lot of people are seeing this. They're like, "What are you selling?" Okay, here we go. So again, we want little micro commitments and little ways that we can move the deal forward. And I'm just looking at our time. I know we have 10 minutes left here. So 10 minutes left and 5 slides, no problem.
Ben,
No,
I'd love to add just to this as well.
Yeah.
People love to be led, and
Yes.
I think part of it is also creating that tension that you mentioned before, and being able to make a stand for yourself. And you know, this is probably to Sarah and to any of you who get on a call where you can tell the person who you're talking to is not, it's not there for them or whatever it might be. And we've seen people do that. Oh yeah, I want to actually have this conversation about my sister. Well, actually, we don't have the conversation with anyone else other than your sister. We know for sure that it's not useful for me to talk to you about it. If you put the application in for your sister, get your sister on the phone and I'll talk to her and you can be on the phone with me. But that's going to be the most valuable of my time, and for your sister to be able to hear it from me and for me to find out what's going on for her. Relaying through you the message is going to get lost in that transfer. So I'm not willing, you know, that's not a process that I'm willing to follow. You know, thank you for putting the application in. I'm really great to have that conversation with your sister, and you're welcome to be on the call. Like just being so clear and directing people, they'll follow that. And if they don't, then they're not your prospect anyway. You know, like they're going to just mess around, and the deal will never get done. The other part of it is also when people are chasing, then there has to be an end date, an end time, and an end result of them not calling back or completing on the conversation that they said they would complete on with you, and call them on it. Hey, Andrew, I sent you the email as you requested. You know, you said that you'd get back to me and you'd complete on this conversation. So I have the next 3 days that I'm available. If I don't hear back from you, I'll be withdrawing the application and the scholarship. So, you know, the next 3 days is your opportunity. I have times at this time, that time. Let me know which one works best for you. Like it's authoritative, it's directive, and it has an end result of a consequence. And that person can then call you back or let you know if they can't make it. But if you just keep letting them do that and you kind of like meekly follow them up, then they are going to dodge and they are not going to make a commitment. So make sure that there's a ramification. And if somebody said that they would call you back, call them on it. Hey, you said you'd call me back. Like, you know, if I said that to you, I absolutely would call you back. So I'm expecting the same back. You know, if you can't call back, I totally understand. Let me know what's going on. You know, I hope you're okay. I hope you're safe. I hope you're healthy. And I really look forward to talking to you. Like, be concerned with authority and with clear language that calls people on their stuff, because people otherwise, you know, I think that people are so used to not being called on stuff and actually had a stand made for them, that when they do, it's like, holy shit, this person's really making a stand for me. And you know, if we're all up for the game, that's why we do this work. This is why we have these conversations. We're there to make a bigger stand for them than anyone else would, specifically themselves, because you're the first person you give up on than anyone else. And yeah, that's our job, is to be there, beautifully heart-centered, open, and holding them to account. Like you want to come on this program, you see the value in it, you absolutely want to go change the world and actually use this program as your business, then let's do this. Like, you know, let's take that next step. This is your opportunity to do that. Or you can continue being the way, you know, doing what you're doing, and in a year's time, we'll be, you know, a year later, and we may have the same conversation again. Right. You know, why, you know, this is the embedded language, you know, today, you know, why is now the best time for you to make this decision and get started, get moving, actually achieve that, you know, achieve what you want to achieve in your life, or whatever it might be.
And I think it's very clever, the languaging John's using, at least for following up with someone who's missed an appointment. You know, and you guys probably understand cognitive dissonance. It's when we don't act consistently with our values and beliefs. We actually feel a pain. There's an actual pain in our body when we don't act consistently. And we don't like that. We don't want to have cognitive dissonance. So when you illustrate, hey, I'm just making sure you're all right, because we had a meeting time and I, you know, you seem like you'd be the kind of person that would show up for that. So I'm just making sure that everything's okay, because otherwise I'm not sure what happened. So just let me know that you're okay, and let's get another time in there. And I guarantee you're going to get an excellent reply rate, because you've highlighted them, how they've been inconsistent, and they don't want that inconsistency to linger too long. People, it's painful. You don't want to be, you know, oh, you say you're healthy, but you refuse to do anything, right? So the second point to what John shares, which I think was very interesting as well, is, look, we want to show them the return on their investment in their health or in their business, which is amazing, right? We're building a case. You invest this money, and this is what you'll get in return. This is the massive benefit, right? But the flip side of that, we have to communicate to them the cost of inaction, right? And part of that is kind of painting this contrast, right? Look, you know you'll be getting the support there. You know that in this experience, you'll be getting, you know, the help that you need. Now, if we do nothing, you know that this is not going to get better, right? This pain that you've had for these years, this energy, you know, this low energy that you've been having for years, if we do nothing, it's not going to get better. So, you know, what's that going to be? You know, what's it worth just sitting there and doing nothing? And you just have to, like, but as compassionately as possible, because part of the thing is, I've learned through trial and error and lots of error, is you can't argue your way around objections. And someone says, I don't have enough money. You say, well, yeah, you do. You're right. Like, come on, everybody's got enough money. And then the defense comes up, right? Right? It's like, now you become an adversary and fight or flight has kicked in, right? And you say, you know what? It's just, look, if you knew my situation, you would know. Already you're losing control of the conversation, right? You're not relating to them like a human being, right? They're scared. This is a big decision for them, right? And you just have to turn around the objection. I get what you're saying. Like, it's about relating to the person, right? There's 5 steps. We don't have time to get into that in this one, but that'll be for a future training specifically on objections. But it's relating, it's clarifying the objection, it's, you know, minimizing it in a sense. And it's also, I would say, asking for, you know, what you want again, right? So there's a way that you don't want to get into arguments with the people, right? You want to relate to what they shared. And sometimes I use this feel, felt, and found. I get what you're feeling. I felt that way too when I'm about to make a big decision to change my life and my health. what I found is the people that actually took action and invested in themselves were so thankful they did it. They were so thankful they had someone to actually call them on some of this resistance they're feeling, or support them on some of this, you know, fear that comes up when you're about to make a big step out of your comfort zone. So, but what I found is the people that do take action, you know, their lives are forever changed. They're so thankful for it afterwards. All the feedback we get afterwards, we're so thankful that you didn't let me off the hook, or you didn't let fear control my decision making, that you actually held me, you know, you cared about me enough to hold space to have a real conversation, right? So that's how we, in a nutshell, turn around objections, not by arguing with people. Forget it. You're going to get into this butting heads, right? You just have to relate to them as the most empathetic human being as possible, and then minimize the, you know, concern, and then ask again for what you want. And maybe you might have to modify. Okay, I understand that it's a little expensive, you know, but that's because we provide the most amazing experience possible on the market and the most incredible healing that you're going to receive. But that being said, I understand. Look, so if we were able to do it in a payment plan over 3 payments, would that make it easier for you? Yes. We're no longer in an argument about money. We're now having a conversation about, you know, alternatives that are going to work better for them. It's so important. And we'll go into more deeply that. For the sake of time, because I know we're just at the 11 o'clock mark, as I flip through some of these slides, I know we're going to go deeper into some of this stuff at a future training, but I want to go to one of the last slides here, because I feel like it's going to lead into, I think this is one of the most important things, and it's the foundational questions of all sales. And this is what the person's asking themselves when they're having a conversation with you, right? This is what we have to answer, right? Before I buy anything from Jan or Linda or Kristen or Sarah or anyone on this call, Carolina, I'm asking myself, do I like you? Do you listen to me? Do you make me feel important? Seeing some funny facial expressions from Estella. Do you get me and my problems? Are you listening to me enough? Are you speaking my language? Do you make me feel important enough? And do you get me and my problems, right? Because again, people buy for their reasons, not yours. And the final one, and I believe this is the most important one, do I trust you? Do I trust and believe you, right? Because I can like you. I can also think you're listening to me. I can think I can feel important and yet you get me. But if I don't trust you, and John knows this in sales, trust is everything. If I don't trust that what you're saying is legit, if I don't believe that you believe in the value of your products, we're not doing the deal. You could get 4 out of 5 yeses, but if this last one, if this number 5 is a no, it's a no deal. So I just want to, that's kind of a takeaway for all of us is we are consciously and unconsciously answering these questions for these people based on how we interact with them, based on how we show up for each call, based on how likable you are, how actually present you are when you're listening to them. Are you active listening and kind of reframing what they've just said? Are you giving them time and attention and your energy and making them feel important? Are you actually hearing their problems? You know, are you just trying to sell your solution? Or are you actually listening to the problems and making a bridge to your solution? And finally, you know, do you believe in what you're selling enough? Right? Do you believe that they will get this outcome that you're saying? And if you don't believe in it, then I don't think you should be selling what you're selling, because people will know. Now, luckily, we sell awesome things. You know, in Aspiral, we have amazing products and retreats that we sell, so we can be confident. But just in your own being, check for any doubt or any insecurity about that stuff, and just look at if there's ways we can clear that. Any questions about this, Kristen? Anything that's coming up for you? I know we're kind of shifting to the Q&A part of things. Is there anything that's coming up for you as we share this?
No, I'm good. This is interesting. I've just been taking notes.
Cool. Awesome. So let's do a quick kind of wrap up here a little bit. We'll first start if there's any questions about what was just shared, let me know. I know before we finish here, I just want a quick sharing from each person, and then we're going to be real quick because I know Estella mentioned to me that we want to be kind of wrapped up and respect everyone's time. Totally agree. Just one thing that stood out for you as a takeaway. Just one simple thing, because I know sometimes you get a lot of information thrown at you. It takes a bit of time for it to absorb. I get it. But just one thing that kind of rose to the surface as far as something that you can take away with. So why don't we start top left, Sarah, with the lovely curtains and wallpaper in the background.
Yeah, one thing that sticks out, I think challenging people, like John just shared, going back, a few people popped into my head that have paid deposits and are now actively avoiding me, and have told me that they're avoiding me. So yeah, I'm going to go back and challenge them, kind of with the, yeah, I need a commitment from you, or you're not coming. I'll word it better, obviously.
Yeah, but that's the essence
gist
of it.
Yeah. And I think with a couple it'll work well.
Yeah, and that's awesome, because it's kind of like sometimes you need to take away what they're taking for granted, right?
Yeah.
So hey, we're giving these scholarships away, and I'm feeling a little uncomfortable how you're showing up right now. You're avoiding me, this and that. Like, is this a pattern? Is this something that we can expect throughout our whole experience, or are you just having a bit of a rough month right now? And if that's so, that's fine. Let's talk about that. But we need some clear guidelines of how we interact with each other, right? Like, it's not cool that you're avoiding me, period.
Yeah.
I'm not, and then you teach people how to treat you, right? Like you tell people what you will accept and not accept, right? Like, yeah, that's not how I play. And I don't want to play if that's how you're going to play. And I'll just take that scholarship right away, mister, if you're not. Okay. So Linda Stonehouse.
Around decisions, and I'll just quickly do one short thing on this. If it, like that, this is somebody who's made a money decision, a money commitment, but then like they've got a whole bunch of stuff that's shown up, whatever it is, and they're wobbly, like, oh, I might want to pull out, or helping people make decisions, I think is like the big point here. And this is like, I'm gonna come up, I want to make a stand with you, I want to help you make better decisions for your life, because clearly whatever the decisions you'll be making right now have you in the position or in the situation that you are right now. So could you make better decisions? I know that you can make a better decision. You have already made that decision, and whatever's showing up for you, all the doubts and all of that type of thing that's questioning you, that's showing up right now, is to take you back to where you are, and that is the ego keeping you safe, and actually being able to talk to them about the fact that the ego is there to actually keep you safe in the current position that you're in, because the ego knows this to be safe. This situation it can control. Outside of the thing that it doesn't know, that's unsafe for the ego. And the ego has done a great job in your life. It's kept you alive up till now. But if you continue to allow the ego to drive your life and to stop you from actually having an experience that's outside of that ego's comfort zone, outside of your comfort zone, you're never going to be able to move forward. And that's why I'm here. I'm here to help you shift across that. I can see what's going on for you. I'm absolutely here for you. Let's have the conversation. Let me hear what's coming up for you, and let me show you how you can move through this. I think people want to know that you've got them. You know what's going on for them, and sometimes you don't actually know. But if you say to them, you're looking to positively trigger them in some way. Because your job is to get a response from them, especially when they're hiding. Like as Linda said, one of her clients has the personality trait of putting their head under the ground like an ostrich. Like that's
But maybe
that's
and
okay.
decisions has a consequence. So
Yeah.
sometimes also saying that, my job is to help you make a decision, and if your decision is yes, that this is the new decision that you are opening up to, and these are the possibilities that you're going to be inviting into your life, or you can choose no to, and then you're going to go back to what you had done until now, and that's totally accepted as well. And I'm here to help you to make a decision.
Yeah, there's no right or wrong.
And it's no right or wrong. And I think that's and for us, and that's why it's really important with all the campaigns that we run, and like timing and stuff. It's important because that's how we are accountable to ourselves, and that's how we're accountable to people, and kind of like people who are kind of like in that space and dragging and yes or no. It's just it's a blurry space, and it's not comfortable for the person. It's not comfortable for you. It's not comfortable for anyone. So it's much better to have clear decisions and yes or no, and with no attachment or no, and again, like, we just have to do our best to, influence people to best of our abilities, like giving them all the choices. These are, you have the red pill, you have the blue pill, which one you take, and then it's up to you what journey you're going to go on. And I'm just here to help you to see that you have different options. So I think that that's really powerful as well.
Well said, absolutely, from both you guys. And I think we have to understand humans, like evolutionary perspective, like John said about fear and fight or flight, like we are asking them to move out of their comfort zones. And there's a few huge gravities we're facing with. One is the status quo bias. If it ain't broke, don't fix it. So we just have this, going outside of our comfort zone is scary because it's the unknown. And the people that stayed within the safety of the village didn't die, but they also didn't get to experience the joys of living either. So we have evolutionary, we have a safety bias, we have a status quo bias, and all of those things, the salesperson is gently guiding them through little micro commitments, through little, challenging questions to say, well, imagine you did leave the village and you were able to, conquer the monsters in your, in your head and get your health back on track. And imagine you were to be able to be the hero of this journey here, imagine what that would be like. Now, it just sometimes huge change is intimidating, but if you frame it as, look, all I need is for you to take one small step, right? And that becomes less scary than this entire healing journey towards becoming, a certified coach and all this. Say, look, how about we just start with one step at a time? You tell me a date that's going to work for you for the first thing, right? And then let's take one little step at a time, and then everything feels less scary, right? You're the guide on their own hero journey, and you're really just, drawing out of them what they're comfortable taking, right? One step, and then another step, and then another step, and then before you know it, we have the deal, right? So that's so awesome to just, that's everything really. That's, it's influencing them to leave the status quo. That's what a sale is. That's it. That's everything.
Well, that's the sale in our terms, with transformational sales.
No, that's the sale in every term. You buy a car, we have your old car. I could just keep the old car. You buy a house, you have an old house. Really, in the essence, status quo will stop you from buying a new phone, buying a new clothes, everything. It's widely applicable. The status quo versus new. Let's do something new. Let's have a new experience, a new training, a new experience that can transform the way you look, the way you feel, who you are, right? I know for the sake of time, maybe we don't have time to go everyone's major learning, and Sarah's major learning was something John said. So now I'm like, oh, great. Well, I don't want to hear any more people say the brilliant things John said. I was looking for something brilliant that I'm joking.
Everything you said is brilliant.
No, I'm not that fragile. I'm joking. And John has a lot of awesome insights, and so does Estella. So let's put it to you. Is there anything you'd like to share that was a takeaway for you, or something that helped something pop for you in this training? Anything you'd like to share?
That there is a process, and that I'm not a genius, and I can actually learn the process. For me, that's really new, and I'm looking forward to dive into the process a bit more, a
Woohoo.
lot more.
All right, awesome.
And she is a genius.
Yeah, we're all geniuses in a sense, right? We learned that from the Genius Cafe or something, right? I went there one time. I think I'm a genius. Anything for you, Linda, that's coming up as far as insightful or at least practical for you? I think any takeaways? Oh, you're on mute there. Ooh,
Can you
hold
hear
on
me?
a sec. Now you're back.
I'm back.
You're
Yeah,
live.
I turned it off because I thought it was nearly over a while ago, and I came back to my son's. But then after I had lunch, I thought I'll put you back on. You're all still on. I thought it was for an hour.
Yeah.
Just it's confirmed that I'm doing okay. That was great. The confirmation from it's great having you presenting. I love listening to every word, so I need to listen to it back. What I would like to ask, I know what John just said about the ostrich. I've got 3 people, and it's financial. They bought big things. They've paid a significant amount of money, and dramas. One hasn't sold a house. One's got to have a $10,000 operation, and the other one is not telling me why. She's sort of said, hold it. It's like, whew, it's just all happening this last week. What's going on,
Mm-hmm.
And I'm trying to, one just keeps texting and avoiding, and then, but then she'll say, I'll talk next week. The brother's gone missing, something's happened. Yeah, it's just like, I don't know, I suppose I have to trust and be patient.
Mm-hmm.
These are all coach ambassadors, and they're serious about it. Well, they seem to be. So.
Seems to be, especially if they put a good chunk down. Sometimes you have to give a little breathing space for humanity. But also when they say, hey, let's talk next week, you're like, great, how's Monday work? Get it firmed. No soft commitments. Get a firm commitment, and then have an objective for that call. Right? Okay, so. And
one of them just said, I'm going through, when I left messages, I'm going through stuff in a text, and I'll contact you soon. It's like, so I did text her back a day and a half later to say, soon. Let's make it Monday or Tuesday. And I haven't heard back yet. I thought I'll call a day. Yeah.
Perfect.
We'll see. Yeah.
Yeah. It's like we said, this transformational stuff can be scary. And that's why we're the guides, right? We are helping people on their journey, right? So that's what you're doing right now. They're just having a fear reaction because it's scary. And it sounds like they actually have some legitimate things happening.
Oh, they do. Well, they're legitimate ones,
happens, right?
The house hasn't sold. The other one is got to have a $10,000 operation, and the marriage is breaking up. So there's 3 kids, and he was going to look after them while she went to academy, like it's real. So
exactly.
It's like, we've got
so
to
just
work
with them, with them in their timing, and he's not going to lose the deal because of it. He's just going to say, look, we know you're meant to do this, and we're just going to work. We're going to work with you to make this happen. And, we have to be a little bit compassionate as a human to what your situation. But we also don't want to, keep it so open-ended that you never actually do it, because that's not going to serve you either. So you say let's figure out a new timeline then. Okay, so when do you think your house will sell? Perfect. So then we'll have you come at this time.
Well, she's already lost 30% and she's accepted that, from not changing the date. Yeah, she's accepted that.
Okay.
And I've made an offer of what she can pay until the house sells, just a small token, and that's what she hasn't confirmed that, but and it's her birthday today, because when I'm friends with some of them on Facebook, so I'm watching their lives, what's going on, despite what they're saying to me as well, which is kind of a bit conflicting, some of it, but that's the way it is,
Never trust social media and the accuracy of someone's life.
Yeah, I suppose, their face, they're showing Instagram all this, the happy side and stuff, it's funny.
What happens when the filters come off?
Yeah. But that is the beauty, is that a lot of them have wanted to connect with me on Facebook. And
wonderful.
I've actually been privileged to see the whole Egyptian thing through a couple of clients in the last few days, which is amazing too. Yeah. But thank you for the time. Yeah. Awesome. Thank you, Brandon. Awesome.
Anything else? I'm glad to be of help. Is there anything else anyone else wants to share before we wrap up? I know we've gone a little over, so I want to respect your time as well.
Is Jan there?
Jan is here.
Yeah, hi Jan. She's still there. Yeah, cool.
Awesome. Okay, so if there's nothing else, I think.
Sorry, Jan just had to take a call.
Jan,
Make us out.
Yeah, Jen just made a sale.
She was just trying to sell. That's exactly right.
Perfect. Awesome. Hopefully, good timing for that. You've got all this practical sales advice now.
Absolutely.
Awesome. So this was our first sales training. I really liked how it flowed, and we'll continue to make improvements and optimizations as we go. So let the games
Have a
begin.
great weekend.
Yeah, have a great weekend, guys. Happy selling.
Magical weekend, everyone.
Enjoy the rest of your
Bye.
Friday.
Magical weekend.
Bye.